Not the Footy Show.
Now, before I ask each of these boys to whisper their secret, let me say that I know that long after I have retired and I look back on this show, the memory of this secret will always be one of the brightest ones in my whole entire time.
Ah, have we got secrets? I'll tell a man that much. Welcome to the Recruitment Whisperers, not the Footy Show. Forward sizzle.
I think the manly bit's the one at the end because it's like it's the what could happen thing.
It's still bubbling. Yeah.
Yep.
Not the Footy Show.
G'day everybody. Welcome to the new Not the Footy Show. We're rebranding Cocksmith. I'm Warrick Nicolson. That's Robb Cox. Stuff Not the Footy Show. We are now called the what, Cocksmith?
I think we're the Recruitment Whisperers, aren't we?
Whisperers.
See, because that bloke, the coach whisperer, apparently gets $5,000 an hour. So I don't mind splitting that with you. So $2,500 an hour would be wonderful.
That sounds good. What we're going to do, people, is evidently all people care about out there is who's going to sign with who. Funnily enough, that's what Fox Sports have basically built their empire on. We're going to do it in a way that is a little bit more grounded, shall we say, Cocksmith. Not necessarily in reality, but in what we think is actually a possibility.
So this is episode 264, not the Footy Show, but officially the first episode of the Recruitment Whisperers. So the big news overnight
that Cam Munster, he's used up Uncle Benny and the Dolphins and their money and has raised his price. And I asked this question to you last night. He signed a 4-year deal. So he's got one more year left, so to 2023, and the number apparently is like 8 or 9 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He signed a new 4-year deal. My over-under was 1.25 million a season. Is he over or under that on his new 4-year deal with Melbourne?
Look, I think it's pretty close, but I think it's a bit under. I think it's a little bit under that. Only because there are other couple of stars there that need to make money, and we know that Bellamy likes to have a few, kind of Indians among the Chiefs. And he won't be able to afford them if he starts paying blokes, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So I personally think it's somewhere between 1 million and maybe 1.15 a year.
Okay. I had a feeling that they offered him about $1 million, and that's why he went to market. And that's why he used the Tigers up. He used the Dolphins up especially. Remember, they've got rid of Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich, Jesse Bromwich.
Yep.
Now, I reckon there's a good chance they're getting about 2 million between them at the Dolphins. Would you say that's about fair?
I think that's a pretty fair analysis, yeah.
So there was extra cash there for the Melbourne Storm to spend, which I don't think they wanted to spend, hence the original offer. I reckon he's got them up to about 1.3, and the reason for that is that the numbers being bandied around by Uncle Benny, because he knew he had to get Munster. If he wanted to win at all while he was still coaching, he needed the old C Munster up at Redcliffe. I reckon they offered him 1.5 because at the end of the day, what other option have they got? They needed to make a big splash. So I think his 1.5 is what Munster's used, and he's basically said to Melbourne, "Can you get about halfway? If you can get to almost sort of halfway between that 1 and 1.5, I'll stay in Melbourne." So that's why I reckon he's on 1.3.
Yeah, which is okay. Well, even if he is, he's done himself out of $200,000 a year over 4 years, so close to $1 million.
Yeah,
that's a fair slice. There might be something on the back end of Melbourne for him. There might be some role, although
I reckon he's off. He'll go to England, man. I've got no doubt.
Yeah, he might.
Munster 32, 33, 34. That just has go play at Warrington for big coin written all over it. My nephew actually asked me, he goes, "Oh, do you reckon he's going to get even a bigger deal next time?" And I was like, well, it takes him to 32.
Yeah, there's no more NRL deals after that.
I don't think he's getting anything big unless we bring in the 18th team and they decide they need him. And he says, well, I was going to get paid 1.5 the last time a new team came in. Give me 3. I think he ends up in England. So really well done, Cam Munster. well done, Melbourne. They really had to do this because if they don't re-sign Cam Munster, it's they've still got one of the best hookers in the world in Harry Grant. They've got one of the best fullbacks in Ryan Pappenhausen. Jerome Hughes still going around for a couple of years.
Yeah.
As I was saying this to my nephew, it's like, well, if you're going to spend your money, you spend it on your 1, you spend it on your 6, you spend it on your 7, you spend it on your 9. So well done, Melbourne, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's not forget they've got to replace those 3 players, though, that you said that they lost.
But as you said, you can find the workers. You can find those guys who can. And I've got a big rap on a couple of their young forwards. I think Bellamy will enjoy the challenge of retooling that forward pack because he did it with these guys. These were the next batch after the Ryan
and
etc.
And Tarek Sims is going there.
Yeah, Christian Welch is back from a knee injury. They'll be fine. If you're going to reinvest in your key players. So the Dolphins, they miss out on Cam Munster. They do pick up Hamiso Tabai-Fidow. I like this signing for them, as you were eloquently put it yesterday. He's the least of their back line.
What does it mean, mate? You mean something that falls out of your dog's bottom as they're walking around the backyard?
If they're lucky.
That back line is average, mate. It is probably the most average back line in the competition.
Well, what did
tell
you
us who they are? The back 5. Who are they?
You sent me that message. You did the research. I think you had Hamiso at fullback. Then you had Robert Jennings on one wing. Ewan Aitken in the centres.
I thought Jennings was a centre.
Edric Lee on the other wing and Jermaine Asako. So Asako or Jennings at centre or wing.
What I said to you was all of those apart from the Hammer, their games are the best games are behind them. 4 of those 5 players, their best games are behind them. It's an average, back 5 with no disrespect, but I'm talking about against the other teams in the competition. I just don't. I think they're going to struggle. I really do. So have we got halves yet?
Well, the halves they've got a few halves.
O'Sullivan.
Sean O'Sullivan needs to be the halfback.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. Milford will be the 5'8". That leaves Cody Nicarima looking for a job. He's going from bench at the didn't they sign Jeremy Marshall-King?
Yeah, well they did.
So Nicarima
they can battle it out.
Needs a miracle to play a lot of first grade. The poor fella. And the funny thing about Nicarima was he was on really good coin at the Warriors.
Yep.
And decided he didn't want to go back to New Zealand or go to New Zealand. I don't know if he even played in New Zealand in the end. Really surprising. So that's the move for the Dolphins. They end up with Hamiso. Cowboys. Are you surprised they let him go? I'm kind of surprised they let him jump this early in his career. I know Drinkwater's set at fullback, but...
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised, but I wonder how much the Hammer wanted, because they've got... Because I'm still confused if the Hammer is a centre or a winger. I don't even think he's really a fullback. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little bit confused about him. We know he's blindingly fast, but where do you play him? If he stays at the Cowboys, where do you play him? Drinkwater is just coming on now. Like for the last 12 months, he's been pretty good, but I think he's even getting better, and I think he'll continue to get better. I just wonder if you keep the Hammer, where do you play him? Centre or wing? Because you're not going to play him at fullback.
It's just a matter of how long Kyle Felt's got in the game. That's the question. Because that's the position that he take.
But what money do you set aside for a winger? With all due respect to all the wingers out there.
Yeah, you don't.
I think we've said before, for me anyway, maximum 400 for a goal kicking winger.
Yeah.
And is he the type of player like Brian Toto, who's going to be like a back rower winger, who's going to do hit ups every set of 6 coming out of your red zone?
That's not his job. That's not how Hamiso was built.
No, he's a finisher. He's a speedster. So yeah, mate, I think I don't know. That's what's happened at the Cowboys. He's priced himself out of it, and they've got too many troops.
Remember, they did let a guy called Kay Ponga go a few years back, and they kept Lachlan Coote. Now, Scott Drinkwater has more natural playmaking ability than Lachlan Coote, but they did make this decision back a few years back. a few years ago, and did it bite them? Because I mean, Ponga hasn't exactly won a premiership.
I don't think
Newcastle,
so.
has he?
I don't think so, mate. And I don't think Ponga really. Let's be honest. What he's done in the last 3 years is, not a whole lot.
Well, he hasn't taken Newcastle out of a gear that they've been in, I guess, is the best way of describing Ponga. And that's what he has to do as the key guy for them.
And I wonder how much he has that in him. I mean, a lot of people go back to a conversation that he allegedly had with Wayne Bennett, who offered him the challenge of going to a new club and wanted him. I said to him, do you want to rise to the challenge or just stay in your comfort zone? And what did he do? He stayed in his comfort zone.
Mm.
Again, is that the player you need at your club when you're struggling down the bottom of the ladder? Do you want someone that's just going to play in their comfort zone? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So Redcliffe, they've got other needs they have, but they feel the roster pretty good. We'll go into that in another episode because I think it's worth exploring exactly how they're looking. Ben Hunt has re-signed with the Dragons, buddy, and I did note their tweet the other day, and it was just such a Dragons comment. It was, now we've got something we know you'll be excited about, Dragons fans. Is that like a lot of self-awareness from the general manager of football that they've just signed absolutely no one of consequence for the last year or two? When he says, now I've got something you can get excited about. He's re-signed for 2 years. You're happy, you're sad, indifferent?
I'm indifferent on it. He definitely was the best player there this year. He's another one whose best years are behind him. They're paying him. What are they paying him?
Well, he was apparently over one on his last deal.
I think he was on 1.2.
He's got one more year on that deal, and he's extended for 2, so he's around till 2025.
Yeah, and look, Saints will lose Sullivan because of that. He'll go.
What do you feel about that? I mean, we know what Ben Hunt brings to the table, but the Jayden Sullivan, imminent departure, is it going to be that big a deal for you guys?
Oh, look, it's always sad to lose a really good up-and-coming young player, but look, he's unproven. He hasn't done a whole lot, but he's, I think, justifiably annoyed that, seemingly he's going to have to wait another 3 years. I don't think Ben Hunt at club level is going to jump into the 9 anytime soon.
No, not anymore. That chance is, he had to have moved somewhere else to have done that move.
That's right. So Sullivan knows that unless he moves to 9, or unless he refashions himself into a second playmaker in the 6, that he's got to get through Ben Hunt and Junior Amone to get a first grade start. So his best bet is to leave and possibly go to the Bulldogs or wherever he thinks someone needs him. I'm a little saddened by it because I like the future rather than the past. And Ben Hunt is still playing good football, but I don't think this year was a pretty special year for Ben Hunt. I think we saw the best of Ben Hunt this year in certain games. I'm not sure we're going to see the same again from him next year or the year after or the year after that. I think we've now gone into the superannuation phase of Ben Hunt. This is his payoff for hard work done earlier.
I hear. Sullivan started a few games at hooker. This is why the move to get a release a little bit. I think there's an avenue for him to play 9 at the Dragons.
I don't think he wants to play 9.
That's the thing. So it's like, well, do you want to play first grade, kid? Okay.
Yeah. Mate, they're a different breed these days, the young guys. They either get what they want or the toys come out of the pram and they move on to somewhere else. That's just the way that young people are mostly these days.
Good luck to him. If he ends up at the Bulldogs, which is the chat that they wanted to link him to, was there to replace Flanagan. I think that is something that the Bulldogs need to explore.
Here's here's the interesting thing. The list manager at the Dragons is Flanagan's dad, and he's got to let him go. He's one of the decision makers that will release him because he's got another 2 years to go. He's there until 2024, I think, on contract. So if Sullivan wants to go, he's got to get it past Kyle Flanagan's dad. If he's going to the Bulldogs, he's going there to replace Flanagan. So we'll see how much family ties plays into that situation. I think we need to keep our eye out for that one.
Just a sidetrack there or a sidebar. how well protected is Shane Flanagan by the media? He has been doing Fox Sports games the whole year, and you wouldn't even know that he was involved in the Dragons.
No. Okay, well, I put it this way. I say, yeah, I agree. He is very well insulated by them, but also, I think if you got him in a moment of honesty, he doesn't want to be at the Dragons, especially in the role he's at.
You mean he wants another job? I didn't get that impression at all, Cocksmith.
He wants to be sitting up in the box, and he wants the old bloke probably cutting oranges or something, or as far away from the place as possible. But yeah, yeah, he's very well protected, mate. He's mates with all of them.
So you lose Sullivan, probably. Are you going to lose Terrell Sloan? What's going on there?
I think he wants to go. He wants to go. He's already asked once, and the murmur is he's going to ask again. He doesn't want to be there. Look, I just wonder. I wonder with these young guys, with the likes of Sloan and Sullivan, whether the coach just doesn't resonate. Coach is an old school bloke.
Yeah,
you know, he's an old bush bloke. And does he resonate with young blokes that may not be from the bush, who probably haven't encountered someone like him before? And I don't think he resonates at all with them. Whether that be a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not too sure. But I'm just saying that I get the feeling that there is not a whole lot of communication. There's probably a bit of resentment from the young guys because they think they probably deserve better. Whether that's true or not is another thing. And I don't think there's a whole lot of sympathy from the old coach. So
I get the impression he does not say what they want to hear.
No. So it's time. Mate, it's like having a bad relationship with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever it may be. It's time to leave.
Yeah.
Go to somewhere else. Find another place.
Speaking of going to other places, Api Coruscant and Isaiah Papali'i, they signed on the dotted line with the Tigers
months ago.
Papali'i was the end of last year, and Coruscant
the end of last year.
Not too dissimilar. Tim Sheen's signings, plain and simple. I know that the chat was around. Maguire picked him up, but Timmy Sheen is the one that went, I need a hooker, and I need a back rower who can change games. So he picked them both up. We saw the Coruscant comment. As you said in the last pod, it would have been just the whole drunk thing. I get it. And I don't think Api Coruscant has exactly demonstrated he's the most mature individual going around of late. So there you go. Another pile on that poor old Api. Great player.
You don't like Api.
He's at hooker, and I think it makes the Tigers a lot better. Isaiah Papali'i is finally saying, I'm going to turn up, I'm going to do everything I can to make an impact. And that's fantastic for the Tigers. Two really good signings. There's a third one on the win, Cocksmith, and I think they've got to do it. You finish last, you sack your coach, you've basically handed all the reins over to Tim Sheens in recruitment and bypassed the CEO. And you've also brought in a guy called B. Marshall to coach your team ultimately in the next couple of years. He's the new recruitment officer. Does B. Marshall make David Klemmer to the Tigers next year happen? Because I think he should.
Yeah, look, I think Benji needs to do everything he can to get a mature worker front rower that can show the young blokes some passion.
Yep.
Can show a little bit of fire and brimstone, controlled mostly at times. Because that right there is why they brought Packer in a few years ago, who didn't deliver bugger all, to be honest with you. We need to see someone like Klemmer get to the Tigers. That along with Papali'i and Coruscant is what they need. And then the next thing that they need to do, and so to answer your question, yes, the next thing they need to do is show Luke Brooks the door and put Jackson Hastings as your halfback.
Who would have thought that we could have almost got to the end of the first episode of the Recruitment Whisperers and Luke Brooks' name didn't come up?
Crunching tackle by Tallis.
Luke Brooks, when you opened the door on Appy and you piled on, I thought times.
So it's time to pile on Brooksy again.
But
number one fan.
I think he needs to find another club, and I think he'll probably do really well at another club. He needs to start afresh. He's been paid very, very well from the Tigers. The time should be up, and they need to move on. But obviously that's not part of too much part of the recruitment thing at the moment, because there's no whisper of that happening yet. But
give it a couple of days. If you get Klemmer and you add it to Coruscant and Papali'i, Stefano, often Gowie goes back to the bench, which I think is his position. I don't think he's a 70-minute lock. You've also got Sean Bloor coming back from a knee injury. You hope for his sake that he can, stay healthy. But all of a sudden, that's a really good forward pack.
Yeah. And
Alex
I
Twal,
agree. Yes, yeah. He's got to score a try soon.
That's not just a good forward. That's a strong forward pack. That's going to keep you in a bunch of games. So
I agree,
and
they need
make it happen.
And they need the halves to benefit to really reap the benefit from a good forward pack. I
still don't love their back line. Their back line is average.
Yeah,
but
we'll get to their back line. We'll get to their back line in another podcast.
Yep.
They have issues right across the field, but it looks like they're really trying in the forwards anyway to resolve those issues.
And it needed to happen, something chronic. Cocksmith, that's pretty much the episode. We're going to keep these ones relatively short and sharp. Just our
I thought we had one more thing to talk about.
Oh, do we?
Yes.
Supercoach Seabold, back in business, baby.
I thought we were going to talk about the Peninsula. Yes, Seabold looks like he's convinced someone else to let him drive their car.
Assistant coach or coach? Is he coming in to look after Desi? He's back by having a look at all the places he can stab, or is he coming in directly for Desi?
Okay, so I would almost bet everything I had on the chances of Desi and Seabold sharing a dressing room would be zero. There's no way in the world that Des is going to let the next in line come in and steal any secrets. I mean, mate, I've hung out a little bit with the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles this year, and as friendly as Des was, and he was really good, surprisingly, because I've had other times where he hasn't been, but he doesn't want anyone on the inside at all. No one. He doesn't even want the owner of the club on the inside. He likes to keep everybody at arm's length. And do you think he's going to train the new coach?
No.
Not on your life, mate. Seabold, if I was a decision maker, I couldn't have him anywhere near the club. I'd sooner have Hannay or Jeff Tuvey or anyone.
Isn't Michael Monaghan the assistant coach there?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, but is he coaching material? I don't know.
I'd put him in the same category as Hannay. To be fair.
Well, Hannay has had some first grade coaching experience, so I think he's he was caretaker there for a little while. The Sharks.
But let's boil it down though, just quickly to the one reason and the one reason only that Seabold has any chance at coaching at Manly. Does Tommy and Jake want him?
I don't know about them, but I know that he's got history with DCE. I know that's Hannay. Hannay's got history with DCE. Maybe he doesn't have. I think it'll come down to those three. It'll come down to what the two Turbo brothers and DCE come up with. Again, if I was a betting man, I'd bet that Des has certainly coached his last game at Manly.
Wow. And
I'd suggest that he will be paid handsomely to leave.
Desi certainly knows how to get a check as he goes out the door, as the Bulldogs found out.
Well, he's already said that he will sue them if they push him too far. But you know what? He's a coach that can coach elsewhere as well.
Yeah, he'll get another gig somewhere else.
I think he will
about that if he wants it. That's the thing with Desmond. I thought he handled himself really well through the whole Jersey Gate issue. Spoke very cleanly, very plainly, and honestly, which I think he did. I really liked from that, and I think he won a few more backers around the traps with the way he handled that. And I would normally think, you didn't think he'd go coach anywhere else after he was at Manly the first time, but yeah, I reckon that might have opened up the door for him a few other places. Now are we done, Cocksmith?
He's only 61 years old, so he's got another 10 years coaching.
He can still play off the bench, old Desmond.
He's fit. Still fit. Yep.
All right, that's episode 264 on the Footy Show. A little bit of a change. It's pretty much what we're going to be doing through the off season with the podcast. So we'll have your World Cup episodes, and then you'll have your Recruitment Whisperer episodes. Cocksmith, you have been tasked. You're a bit of a music man. I need you to come up with a theme song.
Okay.
Recruitment Whisperers, all right?
Yeah. Well, I might have next week off because of this rain, so I might be able to come up with something for you, mate.
Ooh. Very exciting. Very exciting.
We'll see.
If you enjoyed Recruitment Whisperers, let us know. Obviously by social, Insta, etc. And we'll have plenty more, because the way that this news cycle works in rugby league is that everybody will be linked to anywhere. I am stunned, Cocksmith, just to leave the podcast, that Cooper Johns has not been linked to Newcastle yet. How has that not happened?
Well, look, given that we know his strong ties there, I think it will happen. But I think what's happening at the moment, if his manager is, and I don't know who his manager is, but if he's as savvy as he should be, he'll be finding 3 or 4 other clubs that might be interested and finding the highest bidder, and then going to Newcastle and saying, look, he's a Newcastle boy, the old man's a legend, blah, blah, blah. This is what we need.
And he's also got the World Cup up his sleeve to show everybody what he can do.
Italy, yeah?
Yes,
Italy,
I think so.
Brother Jack didn't
World
make
Cup's
it.
going to be great. We're going to do lots of pods,
Yeah.
and we're going to do lots of recruitment whispering. So that's the episode. Cocksmith,
His brother Jack didn't make it into the Italian team.
I don't know if he's fit or not.
Right, okay. He's injured again. Okay.
Possibly.
No worries. All right, mate. Well, arrivederci, and we'll catch you next week.
Who does he play for?
Arriva.
Arriva.
I'm out of here, mate. Pepsi.
Not the Footy Show.
What a run by Arrivederci. And Italy even again. Arriva.
Not the Footy Show.
You been sleeping over there?
Pepsi.